Hey guys, so I'm popping back on my channel to do a review of the Sephora Pro face brushes. Now in the past I've gotten some Sephora brush sets and really enjoyed them. There are some brush sets that I have had, I would say close to 8 years, and they have withstood the test of time. So in the past I've been a big fan of the Sephora brushes, so I was very curious to try the Sephora Pro brushes. They have the numbers on one side and then they show you the brushes on the back. So if you guys would like to kind of see these tested, hear my thoughts, see them in action, then just keep watching. Okay, so we have brush number 56, the Pro Foundation Brush. It says it's great for liquids, creams, powders, and sticks. Looks like this. We have brush number 78, which is a contour brush. It says it's good for liquids, creams, and sticks, but not great for powders. Looks like this. We have brush number 59, which is a Pro Powder Brush, obviously, for powders. Looks like this, nice and fluffy, similar to brushes that I already use. And then we have brush number 98, a Pro Highlighting Brush. It says excellent for liquids, creams, powders, and sticks, and looks like this. Okay, first one is number 56, the foundation brush, and it says coverage type is medium, buildable coverage, downward sweeping motions across the entire face to blend. Okay, so this is not the brush that I would typically use for my foundation. Typically I would use more like a kabuki type brush or like a domed brush. This one, it looks like it's better for kind of like painting on. So we're gonna try a little bit of the Giorgio Armani Luminous Silk Foundation. This is the shade 3. Might be a little light as I did get back from a vacation with my family the other day, but we will give it a try. It applied it smoothly and pretty evenly. No brush marks that I can see. And I feel like a lot of the professionals use a brush like this, so maybe they're onto something. So far so good, so I'm just gonna finish up the other side of the face. Okay, so the foundation's on. It's a little light for me, but that's why we have bronzer and blush. So let's move on to the next brush, which is number 78, the Pro Contour Brush. Best for buffing, circular buffing motions from temples to hollows of cheeks to sculpt and define. This one's tiny too. I was expecting this to be a bit larger. I did previously use the Real Techniques rounded contour brush for like cheekbones, which looks like this. It's just a bit more narrow than this one, and it's a perfectly round circle. So we'll see how this works. I'm going to be using the Huda Beauty Tantour in Fair. You can see I've used quite a bit. Round circular buffing motions. It's working fine. I mean, I expected a cream contour brush to work pretty well. I generally do more of like a pouncing motion than like a circular motion with my cream products. But I mean, it blended it out. No issues, but I do feel like I would go back over it with my foundation brush to kind of clean up the edges a little bit. Just diffuse it. Now let's try a little bit of nose contour with the sides of this. And then again, foundation brush over top. So far these brushes are working really well, similar to like the It Cosmetics brushes, I would say. Next, I'm going to wipe off this contour brush and try it for a cream blush, because I don't have a cream blush brush from this line, but I really want to try this On The Glow blush from Pixi. This one's in the shade Juicy, and it looks like a really nice peachy tone. Ooh, this is bright. That's not too bad. That's the shade right there. I would say it's like a light tangerine. I'm just gonna kind of like swirl my brush into the product and then pounce it on the cheeks and see what we get. I would never swipe this on my cheeks, the actual product. That's pretty nice. It looks intense in the camera, but in reality it's not very intense, and once I powder down, it's gonna definitely reduce the intensity of the shade. So I usually go a little bit heavier handed with my cream products, knowing that I'm going to powder them down and kind of like subdue the color a bit. Right, and then the nice cap. Reminds me of a deodorant stick, but hey, keeps the product safe, so I can't complain about that. Next we have highlight, and I'm going to use the iconic London Illuminator. I've never used this one either, so we'll see how this brush works with this product. The previous brushes that I would use for highlight, this Juno & Co. one, and I believe this one is Miss Glam or something. This is the shape I typically go for. This one's a bit more flattened and oval than these more domed brushes. But I'm always open to trying new things. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put a little bit of this on the back of my hand, grab some with the brush, and we'll see what happens. And I don't have any concealer on. I forgot concealer, guys. Hold on, 1 second. Okay, bags are concealed. Moving on to highlight. Wow, and I'm wiping it off on my hand first. Ready? Full intensity? Right there. Ooh. Ooh, I really like that right there. That's a nice shade. It's a little bit on the beigey side. Like, it looks really beautiful sideways, but I feel like as I start turning, I get a little bit of a beige cast. Like, it's not too dark for my skin tone currently, but if I were any paler, I feel like you would see this beige stripe on my face. So just be warned, if you're a lighter skin tone than me, this might be a little too beige for you. And I still have a lot left on my hand. All right, so this works just fine for cream highlights. Now I'm gonna give it a second to dry, and we're gonna try some powder highlight. I'm just gonna grab one of these little like face trios. What are these called? The Trio Face Palette. This one is in the shade Radiate. I really like the blush in this one. It's like a nice kind of like nudie brown, and then this is a nice like all over glow powder, and this is an intense highlight. So we're gonna try that on top. Not that this could really get any more intense, but with the powder, just the cream. Okay, so this brush works well for cream and powder. And then finally we have the powder brush. It says best for targeted setting and blending, back and forth sweeping motions for targeted placement across the face. So I generally apply powder under the eyes and in my T-zone, and then I'll just do like a powder bronzer on the perimeter instead of doing powder and then a bronzer. And this one is much more pointed than my typical powder brushes. The powder brushes I currently use are from Sonia Kashuk, and they're very spread out, slight dome to them. This one is a very different shape than these, so I guess that's why they say targeted powdering, because this is kind of more of like an all-over powder brush. And I'm just going to dip into my Thrive powder. Yeah, this wouldn't be like an all-over face powder brush, definitely meant for spot powdering. Okay, so I powdered down this side with this brush. It's fine, but I think I prefer just using something, just something like this, and then if I need to get into a specific spot, I will just pinch it and go like that. So I don't know if I necessarily need a spot powder brush specifically, but no complaints about this. It's working just fine, just not sure it's a necessity. Okay, so now that I've had a chance to try the Sephora Pro brushes, let me give you my thoughts. Starting off with the foundation brush, I think I prefer a buffing motion for applying my foundation than painting it on. While this worked just fine, it's just a matter of personal preference. The brush worked really well. It was very comfortable to hold. Like, there's a really nice thickness to it. It's not too flimsy, it's not too heavy, it's not too light. It's like a nice high quality brush. So I like the actual brush. It's just not my preference of application for cream foundations. But this might work really well for like a stick foundation where you just want to like tap it into the stick and spread it on. It might work really, really well for that. So I would definitely suggest that if you like a stick foundation, or if you prefer painting on your foundation versus buffing it in or using a beauty sponge. Next up, we have the contour brush number 78. This worked really well, but it's just a little small for me. It did a nice job of contouring the cheekbones, contouring the nose. Like, it worked really well for the nose. For the forehead, I generally prefer like a little bit larger of a brush. Like, I'll generally just use my foundation brush and then move on to cream bronzer and kind of cover the whole forehead. But this does work well for detail. So it works well for getting into the cheekbones, the nose, the lips. It would probably work really well to cut the jawline, which I generally don't do, but as I age, I'm sure I will be. But it did work well, and it was a good density. I felt like I had nice control over blending, so I like this one for more detail work. Probably not so much for forehead. I would probably use like a sponge for the forehead, but this was really nice for cheekbones, nose, lips, and probably the jawline would be great as well. Then the highlight brush, while it's a different shape, doesn't mean it's wrong, it doesn't mean it's bad. It worked really well for this cream highlight. I mean, look at this highlight, guys. And then it worked just fine for the powder, so this is definitely going to be added to my highlight brush rotation. And then the Pro Powder Brush number 59. It's different than other brushes I've seen. I do have to say that these are different from other brushes I have in my collection. They don't look like the typical powder brush. They don't look like the typical contour brush, the typical foundation buffing brushes. So they're all different, but they do work well. This worked really well to set the under eyes, and it's nice and soft. It's not scratchy. It's not too dense, not too hard. I'd feel comfortable using this under the eyes. It worked really well to set along the nose, the T-zone area, and then I did just kind of dust it along other parts of the face with whatever powder I had left over, and it worked well. It's just the different shapes are going to take me a little while to get used to. If these are the shapes of the brushes you already use, then you'll be like, yeah, this is what I do all the time. It's no big deal. For me, they just take a little bit of getting used to, just because they are different from what I'm used to. So they are nice brushes, they're nice quality. I feel like they're going to last a while because my other Sephora brushes last years and years. I would say if you're on the fence, I would definitely give them a try. They're nice brushes. No complaints, there's no shedding. We'll see how they dry after washing, but like I said, I've had a handful of Sephora brushes over the years, and they wash and dry well, and they last for a very long time. So I would give these a thumbs up. Hope you guys enjoyed seeing this try on and review of the Sephora Pro face brushes. If you did enjoy this video, remember to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, and as always, I will see you in my next video. Bye guys.